Hello and welcome to Newsfile. This is your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. We continue with a matter that unanimously is agreed to pose existential threat. The lands minister has been lamenting about the failure of the so-called Galamsey Fight. The president and commander-in-chief commands the army and police to join as many as 10 ministries to fight Galamsey. They were so powerful, or they pretended to be, to chase even the wealthiest from our hitherto pristine forest. Yes, they even suspended the law, seized and bent excavators on site. So just how did 10 ministries put together with the army and police under the command of the president fail this terribly bad? Within the 2-year period when the ban was in place, Sir John's Forestry Commission reportedly issued almost 50 permits to companies to enter the forest. Permits to do what? Within the same period, gold exports from artisanal mining, the mining that was banned, reported a boom in the sale from Ghana. That's when it was banned. We will continue this morning to examine the Professor Frimpong Boateng report and ask the question where we are with the fight. What should be done now than later? I'm Samson Lardy Anyenini. We'll be right back. You're welcome back to the Vexed Matters. Samson's Take, act professionally, stop the abuse, part 3. An officer of the Ghana Armed Forces has been locked up in their guard room in Michelle Camp, Tema, since November 2022. That's 6 months without a charge and without trial. Yet, Ghana is a democracy of the rule of law. This is in violation of their own rules, requiring that an officer facing discipline and in custody must be released, if not tried, after 90 days. Our courts have even struck down that rule as unconstitutional, now requiring the military to also comply with the 48-hour rule, as the constitutional rule, for all persons arrested, restricted, or detained, because such persons are innocent until they admit their guilt or have been proven guilty in a court of competent jurisdiction. Last week, I cautioned that something bad might happen if they don't stop abusing the poor officer. I explained what I meant. He managed to get a suicide note to me. I'm talking about the soldier I said has been frustrated, lost his promotion. In fact, he tendered in resignation letters 5 times. 28th October 2015, 3rd of December 2015, 26th January 2016, 4th February 2016, including through his lawyer on 13th March 2016 without any response. He got wrongly accused. He was tried and acquitted. He sued the Ghana Armed Forces, and military police was sent to arrest him in the courtroom. A High Court judge's rebuke didn't stop them from arresting him within the court premises. I have seen the closed arrest book, and there is no charge against his name. His lawyer wrote to the Chief of Defense Staff for due process of law to be followed, but that letter has been ignored. Lance Corporal Kofi Andrews says he is a sole breadwinner and his family, his wife and children and his aged father are sick and starving. Lawyers who have been helping him for free are equally frustrated because the army is acting as though it is not part of this country and is not under the Constitution of Ghana. Chief of Defense Staff, when I say your military police is unlawfully used to arrest and detain civilians, I am talking fact with evidence to show how some unscrupulous officers are turning such an important institution into a debt collection entity with land guards in uniform. Stop the abuse. Last week, police officers at Tesano abused a commercial bus driver and a passenger. Fumes came out of his vehicle, which came to an abrupt stop on the road just by the police station. A senior officer driving out of the station shouted at him angrily to move as he drove past. A passenger dared to shout back, asking if the officer didn't see the driver was frantically trying to fix a fault. He drove back, got her arrested and locked up. The vehicle was impounded and released only 3 days later when I called to provide legal representation. We have been waiting for the charges to mount a defense in court. A couple of officers there who became aware of the facts expressed shock. The vehicle broke down for less than 15 minutes. By law, Regulation 102 of LI 2180, an offense is committed only when the broken down vehicle is left on the road for up to an hour in a city, town, or built-up area, and for up to 2 hours on roads in other areas. This is even on condition that the driver fails within the hour or two to report the situation to the nearest police station or to an authorized towing service. Dear senior officer at Tesano, try to emulate the example of your colleagues who will rather assist distressed drivers and passengers in such situations. It looks good on you. Stop the abuse. You don't know this driver's circumstance and how you denied he and his family bread for all the days you kept the vehicle on your compound. Please, your advantage is the uniform and the gun. That's all the difference. These are the people who pay for the uniform and the gun. Don't use them to abuse the same people who pay for them. The people of Ashaiman, assaulted and abused by the military, must get justice. Dear President Akufo-Addo, Defense Minister, Chief of Defense Staff, I join the CDD, Occupy Ghana, and all lovers of rule of law and due process to demand that you punish the conduct and compensate the poor victims. And that is my take. We'll be right back to introduce my guest to you as we get into the Vex Matters for this morning. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's the most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. And this morning, we are focused on the issue of Galamsey. As you know, how we have done it on this platform over the period is that certain days we dedicate the entire show to discuss the issue. We have to keep talking until, we can say that there is some solution. Otherwise, as you have heard, this is an existential threat and we need to deal with it. So we are holding the Professor Frimpong Boateng report to the official reactions and the evidence of Galamsey. We are holding that report to the official actions and inactions in the fight against Galamsey. And we shall seek lessons from that report to improve or sort of win the fight against Galamsey. The current discussion also is whether to have a Shraj probe, to have the OSP go into the matter, simply leave it to the police. A lot of questions. What have they not known over the period? What have they done? Erastus will show you, I'll be talking to Erastus in a bit. He will show you how, police people, not only the military, often you accuse only the military, police people were providing cover for Galamseyers. And upon their arrest, they take 40,000 Ghana cedis to the police station to bribe. These are things you already know. But sometimes we easily forget some of these things. So who should be doing what sort of probe? Should there be an Article 278 kind of probe, a commission's probe, where people will be giving an immunity from being sued or suffering any legal consequences, so that they can go there and speak their mind and tell of what exactly they know? People like Professor Frimpong Boateng can go into such a commission and talk without being afraid that he will suffer any legal suit. Should there be a bipartisan probe, as is being asked? Should there be a mixture of some of these or all of them together? So don't take your dial anywhere. Stay with us. My guest, Dr. John Kusimi. He's Senior Lecturer, Department of Geography and Resources Development, University of Ghana, and he's member of the University of Ghana Mining Research Group. They are bringing a world of experience, hands-on, to what we are talking about. Ekuba Beziba Yale is Assistant Lecturer, Mining Engineering Department, University of Mines and Technology, UMAT, Takwa. Ex-Captain Jamal Tonzoa Seidu, he's lawyer and public policy consultant. He's right here in the studio. And Francis Kwesi Bonzo, District Chief Executive, Elembele. He was here when we discussed this issue not too long ago. He's also here in the studio in white. Kwame Sapong-Esiedu, D&D Fellow on Public Health at CDD Ghana, pharmacist, member of the Royal Pharmaceutical Society of Great Britain, Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, and the Institute of Pharmacy Management International. Gentlemen joining us via Zoom, good morning to you all and welcome to Newsfile.
Good morning. Good morning.
Great. Let's begin with Erastus. Erastus Asare-Donko is a multimedia broadcast journalist, assisting editor at the Kumasi Bureau, Love FM. Erastus is your journalist that you mentioned today, and you can't think about the next journalist when it comes to the issue of exposing the Galamsey menace. Erastus has put together something that he wants to share with us. Erastus, introduce us to your package.
So I went back into my archives. This is not new. The issues that Professor Frimpong Boateng raises, I've been talking about them in my report since 2018. These are video reports. And so when you spoke to me yesterday, I had to go back into my archives and put them together and add my comments to them. And so you'll be seeing my issue of following the Interministerial Committee, what I found on the field in Upper Wassa Forest, Apamprama Forest Reserve, and how certain key players played into all this.
Thank you very much. And it was a risky business. Let's hear and watch Erastus's report.
My team and I were attached to the IMCIM task force to provide coverage for its activities and to foster transparency and an insight into the fight against illegal mining. In 2018, when news of the invasion of the Kobro section of the Apamprama Forest Reserve broke out, the late Sir John, then CEO of the Forestry Commission, sent a team of journalists around to emphasize that what was referred to as illegal mining in the Ashanti regional town was indeed a reclamation exercise. But we soon confirmed active mining by Imperial Heritage Mining, owned by one Donald Intua and his associates at the Kobro section of the Apamprama Forest Reserve. We drive through roads made by these illegal miners in a once virgin restricted forest. They link one mining site to another deep in the reserve. This is the Apamprama Forest Reserve, under the watch of the Forestry Commission. Now come with me as I take you through the devastation caused by illegal mining, even within a mining ban. Many rare tree species nurtured for years have been felled with reckless abandon. At best, the miners process some into planks to construct makeshift sheds. The rest of the logs are buried deep under heaps of earth created around large uncovered pits. The destruction to these virgin forests is huge, over 15 different locations, each about the size of 10 football fields combined. Several hectares of land destroyed in this manner, deep within the forest reserve. The briefing I had from the IMCIM task force before raiding the site was that the illegal activity was supported by powerful faceless people from the corridors of power. We were also briefed that soldiers from Operation Vanguard had gone to drive them out, but were made to return their equipment and apologize. When IMCIM task force raided the site inside the reserve, the security head started making calls, but could not show any valid mining license. Calls from some people came to the commanders of the task force, but the platoon commander declined to answer.
You are also on an assignment. You are on assignment. I'm also on assignment. Let's call him. The owner. We are not here on our own. But do you know that they say you should stop this illegal mining? Wait, it's not illegal. This is not illegal. Why is it not illegal? I said, wait, can you tell me an illegal? Yes, I can. Yes, but show me your document. Let me see your document. Wait, I'll show you. I'll show you to you. Oh, we are also a serviceman in Yabutre. We asked him. Wait. Okay, no problem.
Well, it's true. As for the course keep trickling in. But you know, I'm also working under instructions. I'm working under somebody. So the course I refuse to pick course. When I'm site working, I concentrate on the job. So I don't want to pick any call from any big angle. I'm working under somebody and under others' instructions. So if they have any calls to make, they have to direct all the calls to my boss, for my boss to pick.
Do you sense that there are big shots behind this particular expedition?
With little information that we've gathered from Ghana, yes, there are some big shoes behind all this.
Leader of the team, Mr. Chum Ampofo-Agyekum, received threats that if he doesn't return the about 25 excavators seized from the site, they would make sure he doesn't return to the task force. Under a new leader, Eko Ewusi, the team raided another site belonging to C&J Alaska, owned by the same Donald Intua and his associates in the Upper Wassa Forest Reserve. Again, we were told he was mining with a prospecting license, contrary to mining regulations.
C&J Alaska should be ashamed.
The Interministerial Task Force says the concession is owned by one Donald Intua, the same person who owns Heritage Mining Company, which invaded the Kobro area. Head of the task force, Eko Ewusi, tells Love News the supposed concession owner has only a prospecting license, but evidence of mining leaves no doubt.
The land or the concession, i.e. in quotes, belongs to C&J Alaska Mining Company. But they themselves are not mining here. They've given it to different individuals, all of them Chinese. And they are the one mining here. And C&J Alaska just comes in and take their percentage. And every 20 acres that you are given, you pay 50,000 Ghana cedis a month. Before whatever you get out, they take a percentage as well. So it's quite a profitable. I mean, we're talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Are they even licensed to mine all the sites we've been to?
No. That is a sad aspect of it. What they have, C&J Alaska, what they have is to go and do prospecting. To go and do prospecting, I mean, is this prospecting? Look at it. This is clear, small-scale illegal mining. Galamsey, period.
In 2021, Mr. Chum Ampofo-Agyekum was brought back to the field to lead a task force to flush out Donald Intua's Imperial Heritage Mining, who had moved to the Odahon section of the Apamprama Forest Reserve. We met stiff resistance from over 30 fully armed military men protecting these Chinese miners working for Imperial Heritage Mining Limited in the Odahon section of the Apamprama Forest Reserve.
Yes. This is Staff Sergeant Ayante, sir. We are here at this thing, Tontokrom. The hot duties, and there are some policemen and media be here.
Within the next 30 minutes, the whole place was crawling with over 30 angry armed military men. Anger turned into heated verbal exchanges and near fisticuffs. A group of physically built men with known faces from the Delta Force group also joined them. The Chinese were released. Our news team was prevented from filming anything from this time onwards as they overpowered the task force and took over. Things got physical as the macho men assaulted my driver, forcibly took the keys to our vehicle and struggled with a camera technician for the camera. Under the watch of the military men, they broke our windscreen and side mirrors. Wherever we went, the caretakers of illegal mining sites make calls to big men in higher places, politicians, high military and police officers, people from government circles, and businessmen and women. At Tabosre, in the western region, this man spoke to a man called Charles Owusu on the phone, who he claimed the forest area was bequeathed to him by the late Sir John.
Hello, Director.
Later, a man who identified himself as Charles Owusu, a relative of the late Sir John, claimed ownership of the illegal mining site, begging the team to leave the site. Some of the miners claimed the concessions were given to them by the Minerals Commission with no documentation and claimed to be paying monthly dues to them. This site was given to us by the Minerals Commission. I'm into small-scale mining. We are not giving any documents. Concessions are given to miners.
Every month to be 20,000.
We pay 20,000 Ghana cedis every month. It's part of the community mining regime. While the Lands Ministry wages war against illegal chainsaw operators, illegal miners are felling and wasting hundreds of trees with impunity. They have invaded the Ankwaso Forest Reserve, claiming to have permit from the Forestry Commission. High-value tree species buried in the ground to go waste in a frantic search for gold at the site where the task force arrested 4 Chinese nationals. Mining is undertaken under the protection of these 2 policemen and some armed military men who fled the scene on seeing members of the task force. After what appeared to be the arrest of owner of the concession, Evans Kwafol, he brought an amount of 40,000 cedis to the Ankwaso police station, apparently to bribe the task force.
He's trying to bribe us, so he's part of the exit, and he's the site owner. So he will write his statement and put all in it.
Boss, carry it here.
He was set free after an hour and the money placed in one of the task force vehicles. Despite earlier suggestion, the money had been handed over to the police as exhibit. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
Right. Erastus, thank you very much for what you keep doing, and you and your other reporters, how you brave the odds and go through all the risk to bring this to Ghana so that we can get some solutions. So, in the report, you confirm a certain habit of people placing phone calls to people in high places, including Sir John's nephew, who is also very popular. And among other things, you also confirm how deep even the task force is complicit, how police and military officers are involved. Look at how bold that man was in bringing the 40,000, and when he was asked, he says, to fuel. Are you the one who fueled the task force? So, in this report and through your work, can you say that you confirm some of the things that Professor Frimpong Boateng talks about that is now being described as hearsay? And unmute your mic.
Yeah. Samson, this is no news. The only difference between my work and that of Professor Frimpong Boateng is that he is mentioning names because he is privileged from where he sits to get the information and evidence directly. I was on the field with them, though I hear the conversation that come on the phone because the man who was leading that task force was so committed that he wanted me to film everything, including personal calls on his phones. But he told me that this privileged information, the one on his phone, I cannot divulge that information. So it's up to them. That is why he is mentioning names. That's the only difference. And I must congratulate Mr. Chung and Pofuajikum, who gave me all those rights to film it because he wanted this whole thing to end. But in the end, they had to sideline him.
Look, they are very good Ghanaians, people who are very patriotic. And let me tell you this, my default is to trust that leaders have a good mind. They have a good heart. And it's not that they come into leadership seeking to do bad or ill. That's my default. It is when you have been caught to have done one wrong or the other, then I clearly will have an issue with you. So, Erastus, you also, from this, your encounters, many of them, and the bit that you have put into this video can confirm what Professor Frimpong Boateng talks about. Many hundreds, running into thousands of Chinese, nationals who have broken the law, immigration laws, and all of that, get arrested, and upon people receiving these phone calls, they get released. You saw this at first hand, correct?
Correct. And I can tell you there's one particular Chinese woman, whenever I go on the field, I meet her, though she has been arrested like 3 times in front of me. The people in the area of Manso, they call her Akusia Chinese. She's well established. She has been arrested so many times. She's grown old. She's working on the field and she's there. I can tell you plenty Chinese people we've arrested. You find them on the field. Every time you go back, they are there. In fact, some of them, they will tell you, Chinese people, Ghanaian people, they like money. They like money, pay money, get good money. And so they keep a sizable amount of money with them every time you meet them. And they are ready to pay. As we speak, when you go to a place called Mrewa, it's in Seshibekwai. One of these people who are denying that they are not part, they've never done illegal mining, they are there. They are mining in the forest as we speak at Mrewa, Seshibekwai. If you go to Bekwai, our own Bekwai in Ashanti region, the forest reserve there, there are people who are mining there as we speak. If you go to Kobro, this video was done in 2018, but go to the Pamprama Forest Reserve and fly a drone and see the level of destruction. There are still people who are mining there as we speak at Bepuaso, Abuaboso, and this environment. They are there as we speak. I just received, I receive up to the minute pictures, videos from the citizens who are living there on a daily basis.
Yeah, I got connected to some of the people who deal with you, and occasionally I receive messages from them. As I sit here, sometimes I have to try to suppress not becoming a part of the discussants. I have received military officers in my office. I've received police officers in my office. People who have been at the helm of this Galamsey thing, the fight. And they tell you their problems. They tell you how their leaders simply use them, to make money. It's terrible. And Erastus was talking, and he's pointing to people whose names have been mentioned in the Frimpong Boateng report, but he will not mention the names. And people attack us. Why don't you mention the names? Well, guess what? The names may be mentioned on other media platforms. They may be mentioned on social media, but they don't get sued. If Erastus mentions the names here, right now, this minute, Monday morning, you can expect a suit. And when the suit comes, the company must find money to go and defend. It's expensive to defend these suits. And even where they are nuisance suits, clearly empty suits, you know, what Americans will call slap, just strategic to make sure that we don't discuss the issue. They will happen, but you still have to get lawyers to go and defend you nonetheless, because if you don't defend, they may slap the judgment on you. So that is why Erastus will not mention a name. If you have some place where they will mention names and you're happy to join, fine. Thank you very much. Now, Erastus, listen to the Lance Minister this week and tell me if that is where you also are about the verdict as to the report of the fight against Galamsey. Listen to Samuel Abu Jinapo.
The presidency headed by President Akufo-Addo will not countenance that. The president will not countenance any interference. If there's one person who's been committed to this fight against illegal small-scale mining, it is President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. I've worked with him closely, and I mean closely and closely. And I do know that his commitment to this fight is totally unflinching, and indeed it will be scandalous, and it will be far-fetched, and it will be impossible for President Akufo-Addo to interfere in the fight against illegal small-scale mining. Indeed, on the contrary, he's the man who's giving me all the courage, who's giving me all the strength, who's giving me all the backing and authority and mandate to go frontal in dealing with this matter. But I want to repeat again, I think it's important that I repeat, that we have to be focused. We have to be focused. We are dealing with life and death issues here. Ghanaian people are losing their lives as a result of illegal small-scale mining. Our river bodies have been polluted. We as we speak, we literally cannot boast of a river body which we can confidently say that this is a river body which is fit for purpose. Our forest cover has been depleted from 1910 to date. 80% of Ghana's forest cover is gone. We are talking about climate change. We are talking about erratic rainfall patterns, which is affecting agricultural production, which is affecting food security in our country. So these are weighty matters that I believe that we need to continue to work to be able to come to grips with this matter. I know the information minister to be a gentleman of honor, and I will never, ever, in the wildest of my imagination, ever come to the suspicion that the information minister will be engaged in an act like that. I'm sure you media people will agree with me, and I think he's a very fine gentleman, decent gentleman, who carries himself very well and does his business with a lot of integrity and candor. But he's responded to those matters. Those are matters that are in a public space, and
Erastus, so the focus is not his defense of the president and his defense of his colleague, the information minister. The focus here is where he talks about the fact that he cannot boast of a single river body that is fit for purpose, how Galamsey is wreaking, havoc on our environment. Our drinking water, we are told, we are likely to soon begin to buy, import water. I don't know how many Ghanaians can afford that. Is that your report from where you stand? That's my final question to you. And is there any update you can give us from the Akonta mining place where your report led to the indictment that the government itself, gave on Akonta mining, and yet subsequently appeared to work to absolve him?
Samson, I will put all this in one for you. I get emotional, seriously, when I hear people engage in this kind of verbal diarrhea when it comes to illegal mining. It's not a joke. Recently, I came from the Ankobra, such a huge and large river source. You find people sitting directly in the river at places like Anwulenzo, Douale, Dominase, Banso, and its environs, doing illegal mining, pouring every chemical they are using, mercury, lead, everything, directly into the river. Mercury and lead, as we know, they last forever. Recently, a friend of mine did research, picked samples from the Ankobra, went to test with a CSIR in Accra, the results came. You know the WHO standards for acceptable levels for mercury and lead, 0.001. We are seeing 0.019, 18, 16 for mercury and lead. Something that even when it evaporates, it comes down as chemical rain and it stays there forever. If it gets into your system, the doctors will tell you the nervous breakdown you will get. And already, it's my second documentary, I'm working on it. People are dying, developing all manner of diseases as a result of just living close to this river source, bathing in it. And you have people talk like this, that we're stating the problem, as we've been doing all the time, state the problem over and over again, and then say nice words about people when they know, they've been on the ground, they know that is not the issue there.
Okay. Erastus, you and I were supposed to be professional, and in Ghana, that means we shouldn't show any interest, even if it's coming at all of us. Thank you very much, Erastus. Be careful out there as you continue this work. Now, let me return to the studio, and we'll also be joined by the Minerals Commission. I want to begin with Francis Kwesi Bonzo, District Chief Executive of Elembele. He's also one man who has been celebrated for standing against this thing. And in his area where mining goes on, I've been privileged to see some documentation. He clearly resists wrongdoing and ensures that it doesn't happen. We are back to this story, are we not?
We are.
When you look at the footages and the things that it confirms with Prof. Boateng's, report, and you compare with what you are faced with yourself, what do you have to say briefly?
Samson, I think as a nation, we all need to look at this whole issue of Galamsey. We have played ostrich for far too long, and then it's hitting at us. Like you rightly said, it's become an existential threat. And if we, as a nation...
Those of you who want to fight it are being fought.
Well...
You get threatened.
Well, it doesn't deter us from fighting.
That's right.
What I'm trying to say is that it behoves all of us to join the fight.
That's right.
Because at every level, what I know about the illegal mining issue, that is becoming so much prevalent that even the communities are beginning to accept it. And if you are fighting any socio-economic phenomenon, and the community where it takes place accept it, it becomes a problem. So it might be nice, well, the name calling. I don't think we should be focused on the name calling. Okay. Let's look at the solutions. The problems, you all know it. What are the solutions? I've always said that the issue is about enforcement of our laws. There are very fine laws. The Minerals and Mining Act.
You the DCEs, you are down there, and it's your job, and it's the expectation that you will do it. How do you do it that others are not able to do it? And I just said, I've been privileged to see some documentation from your outfit, where you are clear, categorical, and very patriotic about it, and you stop it.
It's about commitment, and then the knowledge of the laws that are in the country. The challenge we have as the MMDCs at our local level is that I think somewhere in 2019 there was an amendment to the Minerals and Mining Act which prescribes stiffer punishment for illegal mining. That's the right. Minimum offense, the minimum being 5 years imprisonment, which then takes jurisdiction away from the district court. So when you arrest illegal miners, the district court cannot, the large jurisdiction, try them because
they can only deal with what punishment is for 3 years, right?
Yes. So the police, for instance, in my district, in Elembele, we don't have a circuit court. The next circuit court is in Takrade. Imagine you have arrested 4 or 5 illegal miners, and the police have to transport them to secondary Takrade. It's a huge logistic challenge for them. So they bring them to the district court under a criminal offense, Section 155, where it says that unlawful entry of, which makes it a demeanor. Misdemeanor. So it becomes very difficult tracking them at that level. So the next moment they are out of, they are granted bail. They go back to there. But if you look at Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, which is the basis of today's, there are a lot of name callings. I don't prescribe to the name calling per se.
All right.
Because like you rightly said, there are rebuttals. So we are almost at the same stage. What do we do to solve it? I think that's where, as a country, we need to focus on. And since the report was issued in, I think, March 2021, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources came out with an operation manual for community mining, which for me, it's the most comprehensive document that you can ever look at. It tackles all the problems that we are faced with as far as fighting illegal mining is concerned. How does it do it? In our communities, especially where there is mining activities, most of the concessions are owned by the big mining companies. So those who want to do small-scale mining and do it legally, we are fighting because it's an illegal activity. Why are we not fighting the light-scale mining companies? Because they are doing their operations legally, but which means the Minerals Commission is able to regulate them. It's able to make sure that they do the right things. They don't pollute our water bodies, they don't degrade the environment, they do reclamation. These are the things that...
Right. So I'm taking your preliminary comments. We'll get into the meat of this. Let me go on the Zoom, and Dr. John Kusime, Senior Lecturer, Department of Geography and Resource Development, University of Ghana, and member of the University of Ghana Mining Research Group. Watching what Erastus showed us, I'd like you to play that against Professor Boateng's reports and the reactions. What would you have to say as your preliminary commentary?
Thank you very much, Samson. Yeah, let me say that Erastus' video, I have it, and I've been using it even in teaching. I give it to my students when we are discussing issues regarding water pollution, land degradation, and whatnot, especially with regards to illegal mining. Yeah, I think just like the DCE also mentioned, and Erastus also mentioned, the issue of illegal mining over the years is not something that is new to most of us who have been following the media on this subject matter. And the issues that the report came out with is equally not new, like Erastus mentioned. The only difference is the details, and apart from the names, trying to even bring out certain other information like the police statement that was made, was it one Charles Mante, or yeah, I've forgotten the other name, but it was Mante one, yeah.
Yes, a reporter with the Despite Media Group.
Yes. So we have a bit of more of information now that we can confidently say that most of the pieces of information we have heard in the media over the period is something that we can confirm, and some of us are not too happy with the posturing of government with regards to the issue. It's a reality, and we need to now look at how to tackle the problem instead of always trying to deny the issue as if it's not happening, and then the issue about even influential people in government being part of it. Look at the video. Where were the calls coming from? If you and I can call these guys to get them released, the Chinese and all those other equipment that were seized, obviously it is either the politicians, it is either some big business guys, and often those individuals, they have ties, even if it is the business guys, they often have some kind of a working relationship with the sitting or the current government. That is why they are able to challenge the system make sure that what the government intends to do, they're able to go around the issue. So I believe that it is a reality. It is something that is a worry to most of us because the environment is here. Most of those places. My PhD actually was on the Pra River in 2012 whilst I was collecting data. So I wasn't surprised about most of the things that were we saw the media bringing them up.
Okay.
When I was collecting my field data, I saw a lot of these things happening in certain places that, Chebi, for instance, I can tell you that in 2012, and I have pictures of that. After this, I can send you those pictures. Mining was happening.
Some of your colleagues have shared those pictures with us last year and part of this year as well.
Okay, all right. So these things are happening, and I can't imagine people having that kind of infantry to go into such places that are revered, forests, reserves, go into rivers and water bodies that are major resources for communities to mine illegally like that, destroying these resources that are meant for the country.
Yeah. So the question is, what should we do with Professor Frimpong Boateng's report?
Yes, I think we need to act on it. And I'm surprised that for 2 years now, the government or the president hasn't done anything much about it. And this also goes to more or less.
Is it really fair? Is it really fair to say the president or the government hasn't done anything much?
Yes,
we have seen the boots on the ground. We have seen all the advocacy, which is important to change people's psyche, is it not?
Yes, that has been done. But let me just make my point. You see, the government, the president set up this body, ministerial committee to investigate and stop this problem, this canker that is eating all of us up. And therefore, I expected that after the report was presented to the president, the president should have been able to investigate the veracity or otherwise of this report, find out what can we do about it. At the moment until the report was leaked, and then we had a report from the presidency saying that it is more or less hearsay and otherwise. I think there was enough time for the government to have gone further to find out whether what is in the report is true or not. We don't wait until the thing leaks into the public domain before we come out to sort of deny and then paint the report.
Okay, Doc, so you hold it on there. We know how you are thinking about this by way of your preliminary views. We also actually, as I said, we have the Minerals Commission joining us. Martin AC is the CEO. We'll go to him shortly. But before that, let's hear also from Ekuba Yale, Assistant Lecturer, Mining Engineering Department, University of Mines and Technology. Watching this video and listening to Erastus, who has been on the ground and verified a lot for himself, what you have also been doing, what will be your opening comments mirroring this against Professor Frimpong Boateng's report?
Okay, thank you, Sammy. I would agree with the Honorable DCE that at this point, we all know the issues, we know the problems. And in fact, if we are to focus on the name mentioning, it will not help, because at the end of the day, if we are to really look at the issue, it's not just a matter of an individual or group of individuals who are perpetrating this, but this has to do with the societal discipline, okay, the morals. It's a whole society issue, okay? And this is something that actually any society that is corrupt would support. Now, my issue is about, let's look at the problem. Why are people mining illegally at this point? And then in solving it, what are the remedies that we could use? Now, this issue is coming up mainly because we are experiencing environmental impacts, okay, and health and safety impacts. But otherwise, if it had been going on without any negative effects, there wouldn't be so much noise about it. So that is where the problem is, the impact. Let's look at how we are going to address the impact. And then another issue is, why are people actually engaging in illegal mining? Because one, it is a source of income, okay? Someone who has no form of livelihood, any form of income, the person chances on this opportunity, why not take it? Because livelihood, obviously, is important to all of us. And then secondly, with all my research that I've done with the site visits, especially to the registered small-scale mining communities, I have gathered that, in fact, the way and the manner in which people who actually want to do the small-scale mining, they want to do it right, are actually frustrated. So at the end of the day, those people, the system itself is kind of promoting illegal mining. Someone who wants to acquire a license has to go through a whole lot of frustration. License that is supposed to be issued in about 4 months, the person will have to wait for about 3 years, 4 years, license not coming. Applications, even if they are to be denied, they are to follow, they are to bring up some reasons why those applications are denied or even delayed. They do not get feedback. So at the end of the day, it looks like even those people who want to do things right are kind of discouraged, okay? And then the way and manner in which we are formalizing this whole operation. You are formalizing something, and then we are not taking the views of the people who are actually partaking in it. We are not taking their views. Our policies are good, all right, but have we also listened to them? Okay, the formalization process to them has been sort of bring register your operation to them. That is the perception. That is, it looks like that is how the whole thing is going. It's a form of, let me register you and take a tax, okay? Whereas the individual who might have not registered the operation wouldn't have been taxed, wouldn't go through any frustration. And at the end of the day, they see that, in fact, those trying to even go through the legal way are actually wasting their resources and time. So the formalization should be looked at, okay? It should be more incentivized, that will attract people into registering their operations. And then another thing, tackling the issue of fighting the menace. I will state that, in fact, it will be, if not impossible, difficult, very difficult for the country to fight these operations. Why am I saying that? If we are fighting something and we all have a common objective, okay? All of us having a common objective to fight it, it becomes easier. Now, if we are fighting something that more or less is harmful to the whole society, okay? Like I would, let's say, talk about COVID. People understand the effects of COVID, and we are all against it. Now, we are fighting something that looks like is beneficial in a way to some group of people. So at the end of the day, it looks like Ghana itself, which is fighting this illegal mining, is divided.
Okay. So Yes, thank you, Akuba. We want you to stay there for us. I'd like to listen to Martin Acey, and then I'll take a quick break, return to ex-Captain Jamal and Kwame Sapong-Asiedu. Thank you very much, Martin Acey, CEO of the Minerals Commission. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Morning. Good morning. Morning.
Right. You just heard Akuba say part of the problem is that it takes forever to process a license. And, you know, those who want to do the things right can't wait on you forever. And they see you issue licenses or permits to other people who abuse it. For example, if you take the CNG Alaska that metamorphosed into the Imperial, company, from your offices, even at the ministerial level, there were so many letters that were issued indicting them for doing the wrong thing, and yet, they commanded such vast lands, and they were doing the wrong thing and getting money.
Samson, morning again. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes, and then good morning to your, the co-panelists and also the listeners. I'm speaking to my palace. I will have loved to appear in person, but it's unfortunate. Maybe
that's okay.
I will please, I may have some one-on-one with you over 2 segments, the next 2-3 weeks or so that we discuss some of these things. I will look at 3 issues. 1, the Frimpong Boate aspect or the report that concerns Mineral Commission, or generally the issue of illegal mining. Then I'll respond to some of the things the journalists and then I think Madam Akuba said. But let me go the other way around before I come to the report that appears on us. I'm a bit disappointed and worried because I realize that Akuban and the other journalists spoke either have not done their research properly or they do not have information. 1, he said, and it's not a banter, I'm trying to explain things. So it means that she needs to get more information. So it's good I'm talking. And then I'm joining this program. For instance, he says that the views of the small-scale miners are not sought, and I'm saying that is not true. The small-scale association is the most organized group in this country, even more than organized labor. They are all over the district, they are all over the regions, and they have regular meetings with the commission and other regulatory bodies. So I'm quite disappointed in her statement. It means that she should find out, and then I'll request you to call the association leaders, maybe Godiyama and Google occasionally to call him, and whether it's not a case that we engage them. That's 1. 2, she talk about the licensing process, and I realized that is where perhaps she's not done her research well. When the minister took office, sometime in the first week of March 2021, the first thing he said was that, look, let us improve the licensing regime because, yes, rightly so, one of the several factors that causes illegal mining is a delay in the licensing process. At the time Professor Frimpong Boate filed his report, 19th March 2021, that's about 2 years ago, applications were paper-based. Something I'm not boasting, you can apply for a small-scale license in the very studio you are sitting. I don't know whether a Cuban is aware. You can apply for small-scale license Monday to Sunday, 24 hours. Today as I speak. So it's like if somebody wants a small-scale license now, today is what? Saturday, right? He doesn't need to wait till next week, sometime maybe Tuesday, which is not the first business day for the week. And then if he's living somewhere in Kinga or Bali, he has to go and find himself to the WA office. It's a thing of the past. I don't know whether Kuba and Kuba are aware. So let me respond quickly. 1, the license system has been improved significantly. Applications are now online, are accepted Monday to Sunday, 24 hours. So as I speak to you, applications are coming in, you can see. Let me tell you what was the situation when Frimpong Boate filed his report. You have to first go and look for a district office. So if you're in Ben, so you have to start and get let's say the tackle office. I need to explain all these things, so you got to indulge me because there's a lot of falsehood there. And then get to the office, look for the officer, and then do hard paper application. Then you have to now take another 4 or 5 days to do EMS. So even running the process to acquire the documentation takes about a week or two. Today is a day. And they work over the weekend. So online application, Monday to Sunday, 24 hours. Nobody does that in Africa. Nobody has been able to do that. I've worked in about 6, 7 countries in Africa. I didn't see that. So significant improvement and a lot of resources were spent on this. So this is one. So the licensing system has improved. I don't know whether people knew about this, that today application are online and then even weekends people can apply for licenses. So that is one. And the small scale miners can call it. They are the first to admit that the Minerals Commission they know a year or two ago is on the same Minerals Commission today that things have improved in terms of shortening the delay. That's one. Two, she said something that people are not consulted. Let me tell you some of the things government is doing. I heard the earlier guy who spoke, the journalist. He said, "Oh, posture of government," and I was a bit disappointed. Let me start right from the north, where you come from. Here am I, and then you need to understand the nature of the ore body. Here am I, people of Bongo. There's a town called Bongo Point. That place is very rich in gold. Then you have over 100 small-scale miners, and they are listening to me. So they could challenge what I'm saying. There are about 100 small-scale miners working on the ground, illegal, in somebody's license. So the chief walked to my office somewhere last 2 years or last year and said, "Look, we want to do this thing lawfully." We checked, we said, "Oh, it's for somebody." And then we entered into negotiations. And then we managed to carve out the 25-acre small area for them, which is the upper limit. It's underground. Many of the small-scale miners, pay underground in the north because of the nature of the ore body. Samson, today as I speak, the people of Bongo have been given 2 gold catchers. 1 gold catcher is almost about $150,000 US. So the 2 they have is about 300,000. It's been handed over by government to them. That was the first one the government launched this year in January. It's been given to them to work and pay, like this taxi driver thing. That's a lot of money. Why are we doing this? 1, to take care of these Chinese and foreigners who come and give them this equipment and money. 2, we are a signatory to the Minamata Convention, which is do away with mercury. 1. Then the other one, 3, mercury hardly gives you more than 40%. The gold catcher, you recover more than what we call it, 90%. So Bongo now they have license, they have EPA, they have the operating permit for Chief Inspector of Mines. You have 100 people working there. They set up all their structures. I wish I could come and show videos and pictures. I'll do that next week. So you see, within a space of less than 1 year, government has succeeded in moving over 100 people who were doing it illegally to the realm of illegally. So to the realm of legality, they have all the licenses and they are working. So that's perfect. Another example. That's what I'm saying. If you don't tell our story, these are some of the things that they didn't come to find away from us. But I have been propagating this, and I'm sure people have been hearing me on Metro, Asempa, and Co. It's only that I've not had time to come to your studio. Reason, anytime I have to come on Saturday, I have to be in the village because I'm also the chief of my village, right where I come from. Why is, as I speak to you, the assembly has taken delivery of 2 gold catchers. Again, this is about $300,000. It is at the assembly now. They are preparing their structure. In about 2 or 3 months, you have all those structures, and I'll come and demonstrate it. A typical proper structure like how a mining place is supposed to look like. They have thousands of people waiting. They were illegal miners. The military and then the assemblies, they have stopped all their operations. They are formalizing them. So that is another success story we are talking about. Then let me use the next one.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question from the report?
Let me just finish the examples and then let's discuss this in proper because
yes, we are working with time, so we may not have time for you to do.
That is what is creating the problem. That is what is creating the problem because
I think you should relax.
No, something I know is your
Sir, I think you should relax. Just relax. You've been speaking for a while and I've been just quiet because I need to allow you room to speak. But unfortunately, we are working with time here. We have several other guests.
So
I need to ask you a specific question in respect of the report. Before you started, you suggested that you were going to speak in a certain organized manner. And one of the things we're going to talk about would be what has been said about you in the report. So can I ask you a question from the report now?
What has been said about the report, but something, you are not being fair to me and government, because you see, when you allow a journalist come there and then just say anything, and then he says that
sir, with the greatest of respect to you, with the greatest of respect to you, wait, please hold on. With the greatest of respect to you, I think you should listen. I don't want your voice to be faded. I want you to listen. With the greatest of respect to you, we haven't hosted a journalist who has spoken recklessly and irresponsibly. This is a journalist who was embedded, who was allowed to work with some of your people. And as he spoke, you heard how he praised, some of the team members for the good that they did and what they stood for, particularly Chum. There is a reason we are having these discussions at this time. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read a portion of the report to you that concerns the Minerals Commission and ask for your reaction, sir.
All right.
Okay. Now, on page 14, Professor Frimpong Boateng talks about the community mining process that was set in place after 5,000, companies had been invited. Out of the 5,000, there was 1,000 something that had responded and, were vetted and so on. Then he speaks about the problems with this. He says, the community mining program was rolled out and the president himself commissioned the first site in the Wassa Amenfi district. The community mining project was well subscribed and it became very popular. However, the Ministry of Lands, especially after the appointment of Honorable Kweku Asoma Treme, became hostile and antagonistic to the program. Some elements in the Minerals Commission, please highlight that, including Mr. S.K. Boafo and chairman of the Minerals Commission Board, supported the position of the Ministry of Lands. Apparently, they were angry that the Interministerial Committee was at the forefront in matters concerning small-scale mining, which they said were among the functions of the Minerals Commission. The effect of this antagonism was that several community mining sites that the Interministerial Committee had planned and were ready to be commissioned were effectively sabotaged and blocked by the Minerals Commission and the Lands Minister. Typical examples were some community mining sites in Asante Akim area. A day before the commissioning of the site by the committee, S.K. Boafo called the MCE to block the event. And then he narrates further. This is a charge against the Minerals Commission. How do you react to it?
Something very simple. And there were other things he mentioned. One, he didn't understand the way he was supposed to do. Everything he was doing was not grounded in law. It's an illegality. That is why the board chairman was very hostile, including the minister. And that the laws of Ghana, it is the minister responsible for mining. Today we say the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources that has the sole power to grant, revoke, and suspend mineral rights, including small-scale licenses. I want you to understand that, and let's put that in perspective. The Interministerial was not a regulatory body. Two, the Minerals Commission is a creature of the Constitution, giving the sole mandate to regulate process application and refer them to Minister for processing. So here we are, somebody gets up. The President, in his wisdom, set up an interministerial committee to look at the issues and advise and see the way forward. Then you are running a prior structure and you get up and say you want to issue licenses to people. Do you expect the chairman of the commission to sit by and put his hands and watch you. And Samson, listen to this carefully, and I'm serious about it because my blood is very hot about it. No single community mining area is in license that was granted by the Minerals Commission. What we were expecting, because you see, what he started doing was that he just, went, got the land, and started launching. And today, I'll tell you this. The very place the president launched the community mining, we were informed of that. The Minerals Commission was informed midnight before the launch, because we have persistently resisted, and then the last year people have written to us that their license were being taken and being launched by Professor Frimpong Boateng. Ghana was becoming a laughing stock at the international community, because you go out there to go and seek independence, and say you come in, they take your land. So that area that the president launched, without the president know, we raised it, but we only wanted to manage the thing, was Golden Star's property. Golden Star, you call Frimpong in and ask him whether Golden Star gave him the place. He did not do that. We raised it. The company has protested. We said, look, you cannot embarrass the government at this stage. It is too late. So that was launched. That is what he was doing. The one that he mentioned, they opposed it because he didn't consult. There was no consult. Nothing was done. So at a point in time, he called the Minerals Commission. We sent all the repository of the maps and who has concession, which place is free, which place is not free, to them. They had an office here somewhere in Cantonment. And they brought their maps. They wanted to go and launch all those places. We told them that these are licenses for other people. He did not listen. He went around and he was launching community mining. So I am saying it boldly, and I'm challenging him. One of the reasons for the illegality today was because of the way he went around it. At a point in time, you can call Asumachen from US. At a point in time, he even wanted to be given the power to what? Grant licenses. So you are not a regulator. The interministerial, what do you call it, ISCM is not a regulatory body. How do you get up and start commissioning projects and giving licenses to people? How do you do that? How do you do that? That is why just listen, that is why he faced a lot of hostility from the Minerals Commission, the board chairman, and then the minister, because he was practically behaving like the minister himself and Minerals Commission. And no institution would sit down for anybody to take his regulatory power. So it is the way he was proceeding. That is it. And today, the Minerals Commission has to deal with some of the fallout of so many of the years he launched that really belong to a lot of last-year people, and then they say community mining.
So the question that comes out naturally is, first of all, you indict.
He was exercising powers that he didn't have.
Yeah. First of all,
he faced a lot of hostility.
First of all, you indict him of not understanding what he was doing.
Yes,
but he was not an individual, an island acting on his own.
But my minister was on the committee. My minister was on the committee. Asumachen was on the committee.
Yes,
calling from India.
Yes, if I could complete my questioning. He was working with 10 ministries put together, and your commission and others under the Lands Ministry were also supposed to work with him. So how do you feel about you indicting him of not understanding when you are all part of this committee? And then don't you agree that it is part of your failure is what led to this? Because if you were effective, all of this would not have happened. You had issued letters. You had issued several letters. For example, you had issued several letters in which you tell a company like CNG Alaska that they were doing wrong things and they shouldn't continue. They were still going on. You didn't stop them. Then it took the cabinet minister to issue a letter, and I read portions of that to conclude what I'm bringing to you. This says, notice of termination of activities to CNG Alaska Mining Company. Cabinet at its 19th meeting held on Thursday, the 26th of October, 2017, discussed the mining activities of CNG Alaska Mining Company. Cabinet noted that the annual mining permit for CNG Alaska Mining Company had not been renewed and that the company was allowed to remain at the mining site only for the purpose of covering the mining pits, that's reclamation, created by its operations. In view of the reports of ongoing mining activity, Cabinet directed the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to request the company in writing to cease all activity and vacate the concession with immediate effect. Yet, they were there, working. What do you say?
Samson, two things. Because you have asked several questions, so I need to break the answers into part. You were saying that, 10 ministries and institutions were part of it. But the mines report said the minister was hostile. You understand? I want you to understand that clearly. You are saying that, 2, 3, 4, 10 or so institutions and ministries were all part of the committee. But he has stated categorically that he says a lot of hostility for the minister for mining. Why? Because he was assuming powers that he didn't have. He wanted to be the minister to be granting powers. That is why he faced a lot of hostility. So that argument that so many ministries, so many institutions were part of it, so they should take blame, I don't think it can hold water. Because the minister opposed him. These are his own words. You understand? So that's the first thing I want everybody to obey. I understand. That's how he was against him because he was doing the wrong thing. Now, too, in the case of CG and Alaska, maybe I have to find time and come and discuss in the studio. That issue came up. I was then the deputy or so. Or I think I was on the board first before I became a deputy. Investigations were done. We found out that it was not the people who were involved in illegal mining. It is rather some people who had overrun the place. And they were doing that. And then, again, this is lack of understanding of the law. When a mining company's license is cancelled, you don't ask him to move from the place. You stop the operation, and then they stay there and then do reclamation and clear the place. They don't just leave, because when they leave all kinds of environmental and health and safety issues there. What I will accept somehow, which is stated in the report, and I'm even surprised you didn't mention that because you focused on the board chair and then Asuma chairman. He had mentioned that the Minerals Commission was not well resourced to be able to do its work effectively and efficiently. If he says that, yes, to some extent I agree, and I'll tell you, and then the question is, is the case? No. For instance, as we speak, mining takes place and exploration takes place in all the 15 regions in Ghana. Government is building a lot of offices. 2 are going to be ready next month. 5 are lined up for construction this year. We were given 20 pickups last year by government. 18 has just been promised, which we are going through the process. So within the space of 1 year, we're going to get about 40 pickups. So now, I don't struggle with pickups. We've recruited close to about 40 mining engineers as inspectors. So something I can confidently boast today, that the mineral, and I'm saying this on air, 31 million Ghanaians are hearing me. Minerals Commission today is one of the most well-resourced public institutions in Ghana. I don't need inspectors, I have enough. We have so many vehicles, we are going to get 18 this year. That is part. Now, if you talk about efficiency and effectiveness, then he was basically attacking the licensing regime. Rightly, as you pointed out, very slow. So people, 1 year, 2 years frustration, they go and do Galamsey. Now, I said a short while ago in my opening remarks, licenses can be done any time of the day, 24 hours, Monday to Sunday. And then 2, government has brought in 100 mercury-free processing machines, which they have distributed. We have just received instructions to bring more 100. We've gotten approval. So by the course of this year, we'll distribute 200 mercury-free machines. One to stop the use of mercury, and then just listen. Let me wrap up. So in terms of resource-wise, it is no longer the case.
You had the job.
I also don't subscribe to the argument.
You had the job. You had the job. Empowered with drones and all other things to ensure that excavators didn't leave to mining sites or the forest areas without being tracked. You had that job, and yet there were thousands of excavators on the field. Don't you believe that you are one of the reasons why the president and the government is facing this embarrassment and at our hands now?
Something, you're not being fair to me. In 5 minutes, you make a statement, you ask 6 questions. So you wait. So it is just fair that I respond to each of them.
You would have done 20 minutes in the next 3 minutes.
Then you
on the
better ask
20th minute, I will need to move on and go to my other guests. So listen to the question and answer them.
Can we agree on this? You cannot ask 4 questions or 6 questions. I answer 2, and then you ask follow-up questions. For example, you started by telling me that the report says
you chose what you wanted to answer. You went to a part of the report which said you were not resourced, and you were outlining. That was not my question. My question now to you is this, sir, respectfully. If the Minerals Commission was doing its work well, will the presidency, the president, and the government have suffered this embarrassment internationally as a result of these revelations?
Minerals Commission is doing its very well. I will answer that in the form of a question. Something. Towards midnight, you take an excavator, you move to the Accra. What do you want Minerals Commission to do? You tell me.
What happened to the machines? What happened to the machines that people are paying for, that you are supposed to monitor every excavator that moves into a mining place?
My job is to ensure that people mine responsibly. So my job is to make sure that we get more grants for people to mine, that they do it responsibly, because we have instances where people who even have licenses can mine illegally. But when you have a whole community going into the water body 12 midnight to go and work, by 4 a.m. they are out, then we have a challenge. You understand? And
part of your job was also to ensure that no excavator gets to a place, a site, without you knowing about its presence.
Hello?
Are you still there with me? Are you there with me?
I'm still there. But
yes, my last question is this. I ask, it is your job, which has been paid for, and people are paying annually for it, that you are tracking excavators and making sure no excavator moves without your knowledge.
Hello?
Okay, you can't seem to hear that particular question. I'm sorry. We have to end it here. We'll take a break, and then we'll return to my other guests. Thank you so very much. Martin Acey is the CEO of the Minerals Commission. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. It's brought to you by Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner. MTN everywhere you go. Ashas University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 31 years. My Way Insurance, dial *165# on the MTN to join. Duraplus, how you get your water matters. Remember, where Duraplus goes, water flows. DBS Industries, roofing, Papa Fie. Rehoboth Social Housing, your housing dreams become reality. And my guests, John Kusimi, Dr. John Kusimi, Senior Lecturer at the University of Ghana. Ekuba Yale is Assistant Lecturer at the UMAT. Ex-Captain Jamal Tonzua Seidu is lawyer and public policy consultant. He's here. Francis Bonzo, District Chief Executive Elembele. Let me now go to Kwame Sapong Siedu, D&D Fellow. And time and again, we get him to join us with his lenses from, the science background, because we understand the effects of what Galamsey does to our environment, our water, and all of that. Kwame, thank you very much once again for making time to join us. I want you to also have the opportunity of your bite at the report by Erastus with the ocular evidence that confirms aspects of what Professor Frimpong Boateng speaks about, including the numerous phone calls that come in the course of their work, people getting exonerated, among others, let go, arrested and let go, among others. If you flip that on the back of the report and the reactions that have come, what will you say?
Thank you, Samson. It's interesting when you listen, especially when I listen to the boss of the Minerals Commission saying they are fully resourced and all that. And I just oppose it with what I saw Erastus showing. And I must make a confession here. Myself and Erastus are friends. And when I'm in Ghana, I've seen more than he's actually put out. So if you remember, I made a post on Facebook and said that if Shraj wants to investigate this properly, they should subpoena Erastus. And I said that, and people didn't get where I was coming from, that his security would be under threat. And I said his security is under threat anyway, based on how the level of risk he subjected himself to. We all saw how they got nearly attacked, and their windows were smashed, and side mirrors broken and everything. But the point is that he has set himself out to ensure that this gets fixed once and for all. And very few people in this country of ours put themselves in the spotlight to do just that. Having gathered the information, currently the information is sitting in his head on devices that he's stored securely, but cannot be used for anything because of unnecessary and frivolous lawsuits and the fact that some people, I've seen people write on social media that that's fear journalism, and I'm like, you're ridiculous. You don't really understand how these things go. People would bring obnoxious, lawsuits just to truncate a process. And the state, because this is an existential threat, the state should prevent this from happening by simply either setting up a commission, trying this investigation, or the OSP, people who are close to the legal powers to give people immunity from lawsuits to actually tell us the full size of the beast we're dealing with. And you see, Samson, I said these things painfully because in 2019, I remember I wrote an article of the effects, and I said they are the immediate effects, and then they are the short term, they are the medium term, and they are the delayed effects, the health effects. And it was on this same program, and I said that in 4 or 5 years, I hope I don't come sitting here saying that some of the effects I was so frightened about have started happening. And I was speaking to my friend, Professor Osai Sampene, who is a pathologist who's done a lot of work in this area. And he's like, Kwame, oh, the stuff you were talking about 4 or 5 years ago have started happening. I see them on my autopsy table. And I'm thinking, how deviant are we as a society to allow these health effects to manifest? And then I hear this Minerals Commission boss telling me we are well-resourced, and I hear the Minister of Land and Forestry saying the president is the one who is very determined to fight Galamsey and all that. And then I just oppose it to all I know, seeing from Pomboate's report. When I'm driving in Ghana, the muddy puddles that I see in quotes named as rivers. And sometimes I'm the son of a forester. A lot of these forest reserves that are being mentioned to are forest reserves my dad had taken me into. They are forest reserves I know personally. And sometimes you're driving on rivers that you knew, and you see the rivers and your heart breaks. And people are paying lip service and come in and are talking left, right, and center. You know what I think, honestly, about Professor Pomboate's report? I think that maybe a few things here and there over the state of time may not be as accurately reported, but by and large, I believe in totality a lot of the things that he has put in that document. And I do so because he's mentioned names, he's mentioned times, he's provided drone footage. These people are not dead. They are living. Well, yes, 1 or 2 of them have unfortunately passed away. But when their wills have been, come to our attention, we've seen willed to somebody forever and stuff like that. We have seen people who were given forest reserves, and what has happened? Erastus has shown us them pleading that they leave their site. This cannot be the plight of a country where serious people live, a country where we want to develop the next generation. This is just not right. And I think as much as possible, we need to get to a place where we tell ourselves, you know what, as a country, as a people, led by a president, we have failed in this fight. Go back to the drawing board, look at all these reports, and start afresh and say, we want to get it right this time and sort this thing out once and for all. So that is what I think broadly about President Frimpong.
In respect of some of the specifics, Professor Frimpong Boateng talks about the so-called big men above. And when he actually refers to Charles Owusu, and you know Charles Owusu at this time was the Director of Operations of the Forestry Commission, Sir John's nephew. And Professor Frimpong Boateng says that the biggest problem to our forest was actually Sir John. You know, people can play the ostrich and claim that they didn't hear all the stories about what Sir John was doing in the forest area. It was all over. If you went to Kumasi, the wood village area, everybody would whisper to you that if you want wood, if you want this, you need connections. Sir John will give you that and that. And these things will not be in a vacuum. Now, Frimpong Boateng mentions him and tells of his role. Erastus brings you footage where in the middle of the activities, this is the man who is called and he intervenes and it is successful. On that score, what do you say when the presidency says, this is just hearsay, what he is talking about is nothing to take serious?
You see, that's what breaks my heart. Frankly, it breaks my heart. I mean, we have a country where we have state security operatives. We have the national security, we have the NIB, we have the police CID, we have all these institutions of state. Are we trying to say that with the president cloaked with all these powers of intelligent investigation, he was stark naked about what Sir John was doing? Is that what they want us to believe? Apart from that, Professor Frimpong Boateng says it clearly in the report that he sat in front of the president in the presence of Sir John and said, if there's any threat to our forest, it is Sir John. What else? What else do we expect to know? And then if after that, that is put in a report, and then the president comes through his ensigns, writes to us saying that these were personal opinions and hearsay and other things, and it was difficult to investigate. Then we later hear through the ensigns, when they get serious backlash from the general public and on social media and on print and electronic media, they tell us, oh, now the president has referred that same hearsay document to the CID to be investigated. What a ridiculous U-turn. And so, you see, what hurts me is that people want us to believe this because they have stepped themselves in their own lives. They expect that once we are told the lie so many times, it becomes the truth. Yes, a lot of us have read books on propaganda, and we know we are not going to buy into this. So if you tell me that based on this, the president knew nothing, and Samson, wait a minute, and the NIB operatives in every district, and the police stations in most of those districts, don't these officers of state see what's happening? Don't they report to their senior officers? When the, what do you call it, excavators and trailers and all that are going into these forests, don't they go through checkpoints? Stop. Let's stop playing this needless ostrich. The ostrich even cannot bury its head in the sand because it's shameful. It's just not palatable the way the government wants to treat us. And when they tell us that, oh, things have improved, look, I saw a picture of the turbidity of certain water bodies from 2 years ago till now, and the turbidity levels have gotten worse. I have seen research by some of my friends, and the pollution levels of heavy metals have gotten worse. And I hear that the head of Mineral Commission sit on a program with me and tell me things have gotten better. I mean, Samson, Are we in a country where we just like to joke because we are put into positions, or we are serious about fixing this problem?
I'll just let us zoom into what has to be done. First, you look, for example, at the police statement, is it, by the Seth Mante. I just want to try. It's a bit brief and capable of being read quickly. Now, he says, my name is Seth Mante, a reporter with Peace FM. I work with the Central Regional Secretary, Security Coordinator, John Oforiatta, aka Commando, as his errand boy and part of the team with Galamsey. In the course of the operation, I became the contact boy for miners whose excavators had been seized under the direction of Mr. Oforiatta. The miners pay between 50,000 to 55,000 to my account at NIB to influence the team for their seized excavators to be released. I then informed the team about the payment of the monies into my account, which I then withdraw and give to Mr. Oforiatta, who then gives some to Mr. Eko Ewuzi of the mineral committee, of the interministerial mineral committee. I can estimate so far we have released close to between 27 to 30 excavators under cover, but the money paid to my account have all been withdrawn and given to Mr. Oforiatta, Ekozi, the MPP executive in the area. Now, when you read all of this, does it tell you that you are able to do something now which you didn't do earlier? Talking about police and action from the presidency, at least?
Well, these things don't endear trust. I mean, it must be said as simple as that. They don't endear trust. And if you listen, Samson, it's what is in that statement not simply local money laundering. It's just a state of someone paying money, so the person has become a vessel for the transfer of funds illicitly between illicit players in the Galamsey area and state operatives who are supposed to protect the space. I mean, how can that endear trust in someone like me when I've read this in a report? It wouldn't. And those are the problems that we are seeing at the moment, because you cannot even trust them. You cannot trust anybody. It's more like we're being told, well, we are doing our best, but then you see on paper and in practice that, no, this is just not good enough. In fact, this stinks. And nobody wants to take responsibility and say, you know what, we need to fix this. And that's why I said we need to accept and go back to the drawing board and accept that we have, to this point, failed. Because what are the markers of a good Galamsey fight? Reclamation of the forest, a decrease in the turbidity of the water bodies, a decrease in the water and soil pollution, a decrease in the health consequences of Galamsey. Are we seeing increases in all these? So what other, indices do we want to use? All the experts working in these areas are telling you all these indices are getting worse. Yet the government tells us that things are improving.
So this is a report. This is a report that was made to the police, and Professor Fimpong says this was brought to the attention of the senior minister, who then said that the Eko Ewuzi was his boy and so on, and it appears that's where the matter ended. The question I'm asking is, can you be so hopeful that police, whatever process can be gone into to punish, to investigate and punish people and thereby deter these activities?
Well, I don't think our current processes would achieve that. And that's why I believe in the SRAG and maybe a commission a public commission being set up, because I don't think our current processes, based on all we've read, all we've seen, the fact that someone can take 40,000 and brazenly walk into a police station to say, I'm going to buy fuel for an institution of state. I don't even know how that even happened. So if I look at all those things, then I don't think our current processes are going to achieve what they're expected to achieve. But that's sadly an indictment on our institutions of state as well. Because you know what, at the end of the day, Samson, we're dealing with something that sometimes we don't see. You may think it's happening in Kobro or it's happening in Samrabo or something. All it takes is for food grown in that area to find its way into Accra with these heavy metals for you to eat and get some health condition. That's all it takes. So nobody, even those of us who live abroad, you come into Ghana, you buy your foodstuffs in there, you go to the restaurant, that's all it takes. So nobody is immune from the problem. And therefore, we cannot allow all our state institutions, the police, the NIB, National Security, the CID, to be indicted in this way. After that statement was given, what has happened to the person, Samson? Has that Peace FM reporter been prosecuted or anything? Nobody knows.
You know, and this issue actually, for those of you who think this is the first time this is becoming public, you have not been following this. This has been public long ago. And this particular statement is not the first time it's coming public. The professor had just, included it into his statement. But this statement has been public before. Question is, and I'm coming to Jamal, you had the opportunity to work in this system, and you would have seen some of the frustrations yourself. How can anybody explain the sort of inaction, not as in when he puts a report before the president, the inaction as in at the macro level, when there are reports to police like this one, reported to the police? How can anyone explain some of these things? The reference to the president's backyard, so to speak. We understand that what has happened in the course of the week is rather misleading. It's mischievous. Because if you read the report, actually, he doesn't say that there was Galamsey in the president's garden. He speaks about Galamsey closest to his residence, which could impact the residence itself. And we are made to understand that the house that journalists were led to is not the house he's referring to. There is one house belonging to the president. That is not the house they went to. But that house is there. And the person Professor Frimpong Boateng actually mentions has been living in that house, not this one that journalists were taking to. He's been cultivating a lot of things. He actually, we are told, rears cattle, around the place as well. Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Samson, and good morning to your cherished viewers and listeners, and good morning to my good people of Wali Wali, especially the youth. Samson, I didn't have the opportunity to make a preliminary...
Yes, please do. Please do. Forgive me.
And so, by way of preliminary comment, I would want to say that Galamsey is a historic policy failure is a gross understatement. Now, what I expect to see, therefore, is that I expect to see our president, on account of this embarrassing failure, to resign in terms of what his mandate is under Article 58 of the Constitution.
Sorry to interrupt you here, but are we not asking too much of the president? Are we expecting the president to act like a policeman, going round and whipping his officers to do their work? This is, the district chief executive for Elembele. The history shows that he has contained the situation in his place, even at the threat of his life. Should the president be there, sort of? I don't get that too.
Samson, I disagree with you if that's a position. I think it's a question, but if that was a statement, I'll disagree with you. The point is that to put yourself out there to run for the high office of president entails a lot, especially when it's someone who touts long, several years of public service, someone who has held sensitive positions like the Office of the Attorney General, someone who has been foreign minister, and someone who, has been touted to be a human rights activist and advocate. And so, when we have failures of this scale and inconsistent with Article 58 and Article 69 of the Constitution, which requires, first of all, 58, that the president is charged with the main function of executing and maintaining the Constitution and executing the laws of Ghana, on the one hand. On the other hand, Article 69 tells us that if the conduct of the president amounts to what brings that high office to disrepute, or is inimical to our economic welfare or well-being, or even undermines our security, that should be a ground for the president to be removed from office.
This president, has elevated the Galamsey fight to the height no president has done before. Is that a fact?
It is not.
That is certainly a fact. Can you argue with that?
It's a purported kind of, well, let's call it a charade. Point is this. There were visible impacts of illegal mining. To start with, let's even zoom out. We've been in the weeds for so long. So we know that illegal mining is not new. It's been part of our national life. But this is how to think about it, that we have the historic phase of it and we have the existential phase of it. Now, the existential phase of it is what probably would have called for this, if you like, intensified crusade against illegal mining. But the big question to ask is this: how did we formulate the policy response to curb this menace? If we frame the question wrong, whether deliberately or out of ignorance, we are going to churn out policy responses that would be defective, as we have seen. Now, looking at the composition of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, looking at the background of the president, I would argue that it is not out of ignorance. I'm talking of the defective formulation of the policy. It is rather a deliberate thing. So
you are yet to show me and convince me that, and my viewers, that there has ever been a time when the fight has been this brutal, has been this, if you like, this strong. 10 ministries come together under an IMC with the military and police. Of course, there's history to show that at various points, presidents have codenamed particular operations to do this thing. But have we ever had it at this level?
Obviously, no, but Samson, that was not what we needed. That assemblage itself of experts or whatever, public policy leaders, would buttress my point that the defective formulation of the policy was deliberate. Why? And the earlier speaker was talking about metrics. He didn't use that word. But I don't see how you can formulate a policy without, first of all, especially when the policy response is geared toward, if you like, resolving a national crisis of the scale that we had at the time, we should get the framing of the issue right. Let us make a distinction between artisanal mining, small-scale mining, and large-scale mining. But in between the two, we had a new monster, which was mechanized mining disguised as small-scale mining.
Use of the sharp
We should not think that, and even excavators, we would be dishonest with ourselves to think that, that was lost on everyone. The obvious fact was we really had a massive invasion of excavators in forest reserves. And so if we had framed that question properly, that is to say that we probably had small-scale mining 2.0 or mechanized small-scale mining, then our policy responses should be towards that. So I disagree with those who think that the community
Operation Halt phases 1 and 2 brought in 394 excavators. That's what they destroyed. Operation Halt phases 1 and 2 also led to the destruction of 37 excavators.
Something that brings us back to the point that I've been making all this while.
I'm talking about the scale of what has happened in terms of the fight, quote unquote.
Right, but something then we want to ask. The earlier speaker, had made the point. What are the metrics that we are going to use to measure the success or otherwise of these responses? What intermediate outcomes are we expecting, and what final outcomes are we expecting, and what metrics will point us in the direction of
because you had the rare opportunity to interface with this and to even provide advice. Give us an idea what you came to know to be the success. Phase 1, 400 personnel were deployed. Phase 2, 200 personnel were deployed. And all this time, the red zones were there. Don't mine in water bodies, forest reserves, no mining, complete red zone. Then you had the yellow zone. If you have to mine 100 meters radius away from the water bodies, were these not, as it were, good signs, good policies to try and stop this thing?
So, Samson, I see two things taking place in your statement. On the one hand, we're talking about whether the state had the requisite capacity to resolve this problem. I would answer in the affirmative. It's an obvious yes. On the other hand, you're asking whether these securitized, the deployment of these security agencies has brought about outcomes that would say that these elements of the joint operation were successful. I would answer in the affirmative. But that is not what we need on such a serious policy matter. The metrics we need are not the number of arrests. The metrics we need are not the number of excavators that have been seized or shanfangs that have been destroyed or floating platforms.
Not enhancing the
metrics that
regime.
We need would be, has the turbidity of the water changed? The metrics that we need would be, have we been able to stop the degradation of our forests? The metrics we need will be, have we deterred all actors within the chain of this organized crime?
Yes, and that will be the effect of the cause. So the things you put in place, including enhancing the sanction regime, all of that, deploying 400, 200, taking excavator shanfines in excess 400, 300, and destroying them. The effect will be to improve the turbidity of the water. Is that not so?
Samson, you would agree with me that would amount to an unconstitutionality, and I've always held this view. Remember that we have constitutionally guaranteed and protected property rights. That the mere fact that we do not like a situation do not mean we should, react in a manner that is inconsistent with the principles of the rule of law. We should have pre-established laws which would, if you like, be supreme, and we should not be governed by the dictates of persons. So I don't just wake up and say that you are doing an illegality and so this is the response. No, what has the law said beforehand? The law was adequate even before this operation, and Article 706, the Minerals and Mining Act, and its amendment, Act 900 at the time, were deterrent enough. And they were very clear, and they were consistent. We could have gone about this whole operation without violating constitutionally guaranteed rights. That is to say that the law required that once you make arrests in connection with suspected illegal mining activities, irrespective of ownership of equipment associated with the suspected illegal mining operations, you would seize the mining equipment. Upon conviction of anyone who was arrested for the illegal mining activities, the seized or impounded equipment would be confiscated to the state. Now, the Minister for Mining would then channel these to an appropriate institution. We needed those excavators for national developmental purposes, at least. Even in relation to mining, we needed them for reclamation.
You seize them, place them in the custody of the police. And then you have the Eko-Ewuzis of this world, you know, because of their connection to the party. And as the Professor Frimpong talks about, and they manage to get these excavators away. Okay, because they were not placed in the custody of police. They decided to assemble them by themselves. Is that what it was?
No, Samson. What it was, at least when I was on the operation, was that you get, you know...
That's before they started burning them. That's what I mean.
Before they started, no, I honestly do
Samson,
not. I'm not familiar.
Before they started burning them, they arrest them.
Even after,
and they gathered them in numbers.
So maybe we should make this clear. When burning was done and people reacted to that, I mean, it became manifest that there was an unconstitutionality. So the standard operating procedure then became, you immobilize these equipment in the field on the mining sites by, you know, detaching their control boards and their monitors, and then you make arrangements with the district assemblies to provide for low beds. I mean, the operation had its own low beds, but they were few. They were just about.
He wants to come in, and I know why. You know, there was one public issue he had to track.
Now there would be. He's an outlier. I mean, many of his colleagues have not.
The Minister of Defense had said,
in a way that
had said, if I remember correctly, that this was war. So don't talk about your laws, applying your laws not to burn an excavator.
Well, he's the last person to talk about war. I earned a commission. And so, I mean, I have the benefit of the law. I have the benefit of, you know, military training. And I should have a more balanced and reliable view on what these things are. That wasn't war. And that's part of the problem. When we define crises like that as war, then we securitize them. And that is not the way to go. We need a proper political, economic analysis of these issues. We need to ask the very basic questions. The what, the who, the whys, and the hows.
Let's talk about the hows, from where you sit.
The hows as in how to respond to this problem?
Yes. Effectively, of course, we are responding.
Effectively, my view has been that a year into Operation Vanguard, we didn't need boots in the field. I mean, a cost-benefit analysis didn't justify that. A cost-effectiveness analysis didn't justify that. What we needed to do, after having several thousands of arrests and after impounding several hundreds of excavators, what we needed to do was to consolidate that effort. We needed to emphasize on the prosecutions. The law was deterrent enough at the time. We didn't even need to tinker with the law beyond what we had at the time Operation Vanguard existed. I mean, point is that if you imagine the cost of an excavator, and an excavator is confiscated to the state because it is merely associated with an illegal mining venture, that's going to be enough disincentive to you know, do away with the financiers of illegal mining at that scale, the mechanized illegal mining. And so we needed to enhance and emphasize on the prosecution. But as Mr. Bonzo mentioned, there were lapses within the criminal justice system at the time. The courts, the number of judges who sat in the courts, the backgrounds of even those judges, and then even if we had effective prosecutions was a very significant problem.
Tell us about that, because that's the area you are working in, the legal sort of the department and advice.
Right.
There's a time even the president had cause to say that we don't trust the judges, therefore we are taking away from the judges the power to determine the sanction. That's why we enhanced the law and then said minimum you go to jail for 5 years, maximum 15 or how many years, and so on. What was your problem? What is your problem about the system?
But, I mean, that undermines judicial independence. Did the president really say we couldn't...
We make laws. We make laws and fetter the discretion of judges. Every time, that's what it is. Where there is no minimum or maximum. So a judge is allowed to determine what punishment. That's what they did. So they enhanced the law and then fettered the discretion of the judge. You are supposed to give a punishment within this and that. If it is amount of money to take, this and that. So the judge can wriggle around it.
That's very unfair to the judiciary. And the point is, we are talking about sentencing, but you and I know that we would have to go from arrests, prosecutions, conviction, then sentences would follow. How many people were convicted is the question. That metric was really very poor. We had several thousands of people arrested. We had a paucity of convictions. Not because, I'm not saying once you are brought before a judge, the judge should convict you, but there was overwhelming evidence that if the evidence was properly put before the judges, if proper charges were, if you like, filed in respect of these offenses, the judges would convict. And the minimum, even the minimum sentences were deterrent enough. So even if you say judges had discretion, I think that the legal order at the time.
So for you, this is part of the how. And you actually, as we understand, some of us have been privileged to see certain things that you had advised about how to make it effective. What was the problem that you wanted to make effective, and where are we with it now? Because we are still in the fight.
So you would have prosecutors who mainly would be inspectors and chief inspectors. And much as these people have familiarity with the criminal procedure, they have obvious limitations in respect of the substantive criminal law. Now, even though Operation Vanguard had police elements, crime officers, and then the military component, and would go into the field and arrest these people, put together the evidence, have recordings, video recordings and photographs of all these activities, Operation Vanguard couldn't lead in the prosecutions. Although Operation Vanguard had trained lawyers who were capable and were willing and available to prosecute these matters, of which they had first knowledge, and within whose control they had the evidence. And so the basic thing is, it's the Attorney General and the lawyers of that department who would prosecute in the name of the Republic. And so even if you are a lawyer in the military, you have no audience in court in that regard. However, you find a helpless inspector who is charged with this very important function of prosecuting these matters.
Okay. So your recommendation is
so the recommendation was that the Attorney General under Section 56 of Act 30 can in writing authorize or permit any lawyer to prosecute any offense.
And that would be better than the police prosecution of these offenses.
Indeed. And if that had been done and we had consolidated the effort of the arrest, the seizures and all that within a matter of 3 months, at most 6 months, the deterrence that would flow from such effective prosecutions would do away or would have done away.
Okay, that should still be done.
Yes,
from
that
where
should
you
still
say.
be done, yes.
Okay, so Honorable Bonzo wanted to come in. Kofi Bentel says the Galamsey fight is an example of a fight which citizens forced the government into. That's correct. Government was only paying lip service till citizens rose and forced them to fight Galamsey. You remember the media coalition against Galamsey, led by Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe. Of course, they were complicit and not sincere, hence all the failures and corruption. But this should be clear. It was not the wish of this government to fight Galamsey. Citizens pushed them to do it, and it's become clear how insincere they were all along. The failed Galamsey fight will always be this government's legacy. We citizens will keep fighting. It's a fight for our survival. Yes, you wanted to make an intervention when he was
Samson,
speaking.
I think ex-Captain Seidu got it wrong by saying that the president should resign over. In the first place, why are we where we are? Because we are where we are now because the president, from the very onset, staked his own political on the fight against Galamsey. Now, he mentions the policy response, which was defective. I don't think so. I completely disagree with him. Even in the aftermath of Professor Bobatin's report, which was submitted to the presidency on the 19th of March 2021, government has come out with a very comprehensive document, the Operational Manual on Small-Scale and Community Mining Scheme, which for me provides a panacea to the illegal mining issue in this country. In the past, we have fought it as an illegal activity, and we have not succeeded. Why haven't you succeeded? Act 703, the Minerals and Mining Act, makes it illegal for you to go and do a mining activity without licenses. The only difference between legal mining and illegal mining is a paper issued by a Minerals Commission. So if all these small-scale miners had a paper, the license, the agreement, the lease agreement with the Minerals Commission, we won't be here fighting them as illegal miners. They'll be doing their legitimate business and they'll be regulated by the Minerals Commission. Understand the frustrations of the boss of the Minerals, the CEO of the Minerals Commission, because in the past 2 years, the Minerals Commission has done so much by helping regularize small-scale mining activities, by issuing licenses as fast as possible, and then in all of it, they'll write to the Assembly. And Assembly, if you have any reservation, I, as a DC, have had the opportunity of writing to the Minerals Commission to reject a certain license that was being granted. The very day I submitted a letter to Mr. Isi, he himself took the letter, went to his operations team and told them to reject our application because it was in the forest reserve, the Draw Forest Reserve. Okay. So this is how far we have gone. But to say that the president, because we have not
succeeded.
Yes.
It was not a case where you are writing letters and yet
No. We went and immediately and they wrote to the company that it cannot be granted. Okay. So it was instant. I didn't have to wait even 2 or 3 days later. Instantly, Mr. Isi himself took my letter, went downstairs to his operation room and told them that, look, this CEO of Alambra has brought this letter rejecting this on these grounds that it's in a forest reserve. And
was that the only ground why you felt that company shouldn't be giving the license?
Which is very poisonous.
Wait, I'm coming. Okay. Yeah. Yes, go on.
Yeah, so, for instance, currently in the US, the biggest problem, the biggest challenge they face is the gun violence. They are killing their people. Are we saying because of that, the American president should resign? They all know the problems, and they are trying to find solutions. That's why I said that the solution to this problem has been bottom up. That's why we have failed. It should be at the top. We try and prescribe the solutions, and it doesn't work. We need to go to the bottom.
I remember you stressing this the last time you were here.
Where the Galamsey is taking place. Galamsey is not taking place here in Accra. It's taking place in the forest, in the bush, in Elembele. How do you solve it? Now, we spoke about the laws and the prosecution. Imperial Heritage is one of the companies that was cited by Professor Martin as you may recollect that in 2019, Imperial Heritage took Ghana government to court. And then a high court in Kumasi awarded in May 2021, judgment debt of 15.3 million against the government.
Yeah, I spoke about it last week, and Godfrey Dame went and set it aside.
Exactly, and that has been some of the frustrations with the Attorney General. In fact, anytime I speak to him when I'm frustrated, he also equally tells me about his frustration with the judicial system. Now, the amended act, the Act 995, which amended the Act 703, makes it the minimum punishment, 15 years. So now, when you arrest suspected Galamseyers, they won't even admit to the offense in court. You have to go to the full process of, the challenges we have in our judicial system. The adjournment, the people will be on bail, and the moment you grant them bail, they go back to practice their Galamsey. So the Minerals Commission and the ministry, in its own wisdom, realize that, look, let us work at regularizing the activities of small-scale miners, giving them licenses. Now, what happens, and I'll give a typical example of what we have done in Elembele. In Elembele, most of our mining, the concessions are owned by the large-scale mining company, Adamus. So normally, when people even want to do legitimate mining, they don't have access to the concession. So they'll go and then encroach upon the concession of Adamus. We've been fighting it as an illegal activity for so long. We're not getting much result. So we sat down with the Adamus as a mining company. Sat down with the CEO in my office in 2012, January last year. And then we agreed that we'll work together to resolve that issue. What we did was that the mining company decided that, okay, they will release portions of its concessions. The large-scale mining companies, they cannot economically mine every area. There are some areas that it doesn't even make economic sense for the large-scale mining to be taken there. It's only a small scale. Okay. So they identified 2 areas, and then there are 14 communities in the catchment area of Adamus. We brought all those 14 communities together, set up a community mining company owned by all the communities, all of them represented by the chiefs, and then the proceeds from that business is supposed to be shared among all the 14 companies. Okay. And with that, we got the chiefs to agree that, okay, once this is happening, we will spearhead the fight against Galamsey. Okay. Because no Galamseyer is able to do any Galamsey activity without the consent of the chief of the relevant community. The
licensing is one thing. Monitoring is the next, which is the most important.
Once you have the license, so this manual is here, it prescribes everything. Then I, as a DCE, I can go to the site and monitor them to make sure that they are doing reclamation, they are not spilling their waste into the river bodies, they are not polluting the river bodies. These are what we do to solve it. Okay. Other than that, if they don't have licenses, when I go there, I'm going to arrest them. The moment they see me, they'll flee, they run away. Even if you arrest them, you have to now go through the whole process. So the issue of small-scale mining, it won't go away. It has been with us for so many years. Right. It's only become a problem recently when excavators were introduced. So it's oversimplification to say that because of that, the whole president should resign just because. Okay, so
that's where I bring him back in. I bring him back on, and I wish we had that your footage we used the last time. There was mining, with excavators going on right at the back of, a house, and the way he fought it, and there were chiefs in support of all of that. You wanted to say something, that there's something poisonous. What was that?
Very poisonous to the public. Illegal mining is not mining absent of a license. That's not true. Illegal mining includes mining on a riverbed, mining even if you have a license, mining on a riverbank even if you have a license, right? Mining involved or having the involvement of non-Ghanaians. That is mining within a forest reserve. By definition, they are illegal mining.
Captain. The license prescribes what you can do and what you cannot do. If you violate the terms of your license, then it becomes an illegal mining.
That's what he's saying?
Yes, but once you have the license, then
So he's saying you can have license and still do illegal mining?
At the district level, we have a district small-scale mining committee chaired by the DCE. Okay. Where we have representatives from EPA, Minerals Commission, Water Resources Commission, all these bodies are there.
Are they functional?
They are they have to function.
They say your place is an outlier.
The question is, will any mining license authorize you to mine in a forest reserve or on a riverbed or in a riverbank, or will any license authorize you to do that?
So if you breach it, then you get your license.
Exactly.
So illegal. So you can have.
Okay. I need to take a break, but before I do, do you support calls for like a public probe to give opportunities for those, and perhaps maybe yourself, you would appear without the fear of any lawsuits and anything, you'll be indemnified. Then you go there and tell your story, how we can resolve this and resolve it well.
Based on the Pomboating report,
that's correct.
I think government has issued a response. The specific individuals mentioned, some of them have even gone to court. So these are issues before the court that I cannot sit here and then pronounce on.
No. Would you prefer that there is a Shraj should be proving it? Of course, there's a report to Shraj.
Yes.
A petition to
yes,
Shraj.
I think an MP
Would you also
petitioned
prefer
Shraj,
that
so
Parliament sits on it or something like that, bipartisan?
Samson, the problem we have with this illegal mining fight is the politicization. If you don't take the politics out of it, I've been listening to former President Mahama, who is seeking to lead his party and go into 2024 as a...
Right.
He's never said anything different from what we are doing now. What is he going to do differently to fight? It's only the accusations and counter accusations.
Right.
That's what I'm saying that, look, it's time we move away from it because we have done it and we are not getting anywhere. We have criminalized activity, we arrest them, the judicial system is so slow, you are not getting the result. Meanwhile, at the local level, it's bread and butter.
That's right.
So the communities are accepting it.
You know,
That's
while in 2016, this is a funny thing. Yes. Is it really funny? It's serious. In 2016, while President Mahama was doing his Galamsey Fight, yes, President Akufo-Addo was out there telling us that MPP will regularize Galamsey activities as a counter to the fight. Yes. Whilst 2020, President Akufo-Addo was busy fighting Galamsey, President Mahama was also busy telling people that I will grant all imprisoned Galamseyers under Akufo-Addo amnesty. How does it get? How worse does it get? Do you support a commission to go into this?
I do, because like I said in my opening remarks, to say that the saga on illegal mining, as we are discussing, is a massive and historic policy failure would be an understatement. And therefore, we need to get insights on what went wrong. We need to chart a path towards proper solutions. If someone says, like my colleague said, that the policy response was not defective, then why are we talking about the problem?
All right.
Why are we concerned? And so let us do that. But over and above that, I think that there is a mechanism under Article 69 that I would enjoin, members of Parliament and the Speaker to think about, which is that the President can be removed from office if he fails to resign, as I said, and what would trigger this, or what has triggered this, is what he has done is inimical to our economy and our security.
You're talking about impeachment.
Yes.
How? For failing the fight.
We all know. Look, we only talk about polluted waters and so on. How much money have we lost by way of potential tax revenue from illegal mining?
Okay.
So much.
We'll take a break here. We'll be right back. This is Newsfile. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's the most authoritative news analysis platform. As you know, there was the Interministerial Committee set up in 2017. The purpose was to fight illegal mining, and it was dissolved in 2021. And the reasons for the dissolution was that the Secretariat was hit by alleged bribery and corruption scandal. This is a very important committee. It had the Ministries of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Lands and Natural Resources, Local Government and Rural Development, the Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Regional Reorganization and Development, Monitoring and Evaluation, Water and Sanitation, Interior Ministry, Defense Ministry, and the Information Ministry, all coming together, 10 of them, to see what can be done. Today, we listen to the Lands Minister himself, and he says he cannot boast of one single river that is fit for purpose because of all of this Galamsey. We have a significant, patriots. Justice Henrietta Mensah-Bonsu just said, just yesterday, confirmed what is our fear, that this is an existential threat and we have to do something about it. Member of Parliament Roxanne Nelson Dafamapo has taken a petition to Shraj to investigate this matter. There are those who are saying the OSP, the police, or there should be a bipartisan probe, or that there should rather be a commission of inquiry to allow people the room to be able to say things without the fear of being sued. Because if you didn't do it well, you will be sued. Now, let me go to my guest on Zoom, and let's find out how their solutions or their suggestions are about how we can fight this. Dr. John Kusimi, thank you once again very much for your patience and being with us. From what you know, from the work that you have done with the University of Ghana Mining Research Group, what are some of the proposals that you will, give for resolving this matter?
Thank you very much, Samson. Yeah, before I go on to that, let me just say a few words in response to the minister's comment on some of the actions or activities they've done so far. And he was trying to more or less challenge the issues that we are putting forward. The online application, the vehicles, the gold, the catcher and whatnot, yes. I think these are new initiatives that the government is doing to the regulator or the agency. But he will agree to all of us that the results that we expect from these new initiatives are not yet, they've not started bearing fruits. And therefore, we need to accept the fact that we still have a big problem we need to fight, and we need to work at it. For instance, if you talk about the gold catcher, that is a non-mercury mining process. Yes, it might only minimize the emission of elements or metals into the environment, but you can't take away the environmental degradation, such as air pollution, deforestation. You can't take away the sediments that are discharged into the water bodies that are contaminating and polluting our water, the pests that serve as traps to human beings and even wildlife. So these are realities. The government is doing something. Let's pray that we get that done better, and then we can get some better results in the near future. Yes, I think there have been a lot of, in terms of solution, there have been a lot of measures that are in our regulation. But we all know that the issue has always been implementation. We know of the challenges that the sector has, and that is why I'm applauding the new initiative that the government is trying to do. The Inspectorate Division, for instance, has logistical problems and human resource, so it's good that we are having this kind of initiative. But we also have issues. I will want the media, you've done quite well for the past years regarding the education and the campaign against this illegal activity that is a threat to our existence, like all of us have admitted. Let's continue to do that. Civil society is doing a lot, and we should encourage all of these initiatives and then support them. The community mining process is good, like the DCE said, and it is found in the report of Prof. It's something that if we encourage and bring all these illegal miners together, it will go along with resolve the issues.
Thank you so very much.
Let me just, a few other ones that I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but
can I just mention a few?
Yes, okay, just list them.
That comes from our research. We feel that we should have a form of parliamentary committee that will be part of the education and then the processes of getting the licenses. And also, we think that there's a need, as has already been mentioned. You see that now we have a lot of mechanization of the illegal mining system. Can the ministry amend the regulation to more or less have what we call medium-scale mining activity? to tackle this component of the mining activity that is becoming a little bit, yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's go to Ekuba. Ekuba, what will be your list of proposals, very briefly? And the footage you are watching is what I was asking for earlier. That was mining going on right there in the police commander's house. Yes, Ekuba, let's hear you.
Okay, thank you, Samson. Before I give my list, I'll just react briefly to what the CEO of Mincom said. The research actually on the licensing issues, of course, Mincom has done quite a lot, but it will be good for the CEO to also kind of try to investigate some of the issues, because this is not just something that I just put up. It's a research that I visited sites and then just asking them what their challenges have been, and that was kind of a common denominator. So it will be good in the fight that we are all gearing towards, that as we are all fighting together, maybe a team could kind of investigate the issues about the licensing timing and then the denials. First of all, looking at the way forward, I believe the approach to mining is what is leading to all this impact. So the mining methods they are using is incorrect, and the processing methods are leading to that, and of course, issues about reclamation and all that. So the way forward should be, we should have more research, okay? At the moment, if you visit large-scale mining communities, large-scale mining operations, there are researches which are indicating which deposit type, which mining methods should be used, which will promote sustainable mining. But when you look at data on small scale and, of course, illegal mining, there's little, okay,
all right,
on the sustainable mining methods. And then my last issue should be about involving professionals. These large-scale mining operations are actually thriving because they have the expertise.
That's correct.
The technical expertise are there.
Okay.
So we should find a way of incorporating professionals.
Thank you very much, Ekuba Beziba Yale, Assistant Lecturer, Mining Engineering Department of the University of Mines and Technology. Kwame Sapong-Asiedu, where do you stand? Some lawyers will already tell you that if you are getting one suit, the next suit, the next suit, then Shraj may not even be able to work because suits will be pending. If you say Parliament should work, Parliament will also not be able to deal with matters because suits are pending. And all of these may just scuttle what has to be done. What do you say?
Well, yes, Samson, that's the frustration. But for me, I think we need, like I said, the way we sort this out is go back to the drawing board and try as much as possible to understand what has caused us to fail. I think we are all not paying attention to the fundamental issues that have caused us to fail. And that is the lack of trust between all players in the mining sector. And the only way we're going to get to the bottom of this is for there to be a commission of a sort. And I don't know how quickly we can get that in place, but I think that would be the best thing to do.
People say, but if you are doing a commission, it will be appointed by the president, and we will always follow the president. So what should happen?
Well, it's the issue. That's why I talk about the issue of trust. I can see Honorable Bozo laughing, but one thing I've always said with our democracy is, yes, the president would always appoint, but the people appointed should always know that they have to deliver their mandate on behalf of the citizens, because they are citizens as well. And this is an existential threat, and they are under threat as well. So those are the things that I would say. So it's not about the president appointing or not appointing. It's about the powers that they have and what they do and cannot do.
All right. Thank you very much, Kwame Sapong-Asiedu, also for joining us. As always, my outfit is by Habil Scruter. You can find them at Ajiringano Gate, East Legon, and you can call them 0200 84 19 1988. For those of you who express doubts about some of the things that Professor Frimpong Boateng is saying, if you have the rare opportunity of sitting down and speaking with him, you will come to a point of thinking that this is still the very credible man that the president spoke about when he introduced him and handed the job to him. He said he was a statesman of the highest repute, and he appears to remain that. Our time is up. Thank you all so very much for making time to join us on this edition of Newsfile. And our guests have been Erastus Sasaredonko, broadcast journalist with Love FM, Kwame Sapong-Asiedu, D&D Fellow on Public Health at CDD Ghana, pharmacist, member of the Royal Pharmaceutical Society of Great Britain, Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, and the Institute of Pharmacy Management International. Francis Kwesi Bozo is District Chief Executive, Elembele, known to fight Galamsey without any apologies. Ex-Captain Jamal Tonzua Seidu, lawyer and public policy consultant. He has worked with the Operation Vanguard as a lawyer and has given us some insights as to what to do going forward. Thanks to Akuba Yale and Dr. John Kusimi, Senior Lecturer, Department of Geography and Resource Development, University of Ghana, and member UG Mining Research Group. I'm Samson Lardy Anyenini. Thanks for your company.